Happy Wednesday evening, May 25th, 2022. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Wednesday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Wednesday evening, so let's get started right now. First up, mother of Sandy Hook shooting victim calls such tragedies preventable. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months.
Where destiny's second to none. MD.
Scarlett Lewis's 6-year-old son, Jesse, was murdered in the Sandy Hook school massacre almost 10 years ago. Yesterday's shooting in Texas, eerily reminiscent.
It is heartbreaking. It's something that no parent should ever go through. And quite frankly, they don't have to. Every school shooting is preventable.
Lewis speaking with 1,400 students at Londonderry High School today, a pre-planned discussion of her Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement.
If the shooter had been able to give and receive nurturing, healing love, the tragedy would never have happened.
Advocating for character development and social and emotional learning.
This is absolutely essential life skills that we need to be able to have healthy relationships, to be able to manage our emotions, to be able to face difficulty in our lives.
Everyday modeling and practicing of courage, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, and action.
Schools with cultures who are connected and loving and have a lot of belonging are going to reduce and prevent those grievances that escalate into an attack.
Scarlett talked to the students about the courage to speak up, both to ask for help for themselves and to spot the need in others.
They are usually talking about what they're going to do. We need to believe them, and we need to act on it.
The timing of her visit on the heels of yet another tragedy, a call to action for people of all ages. In Londonderry, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire safety officials say they believe schools are secure. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
If you're a contractor, Beltane's Building Supply was to be your first choice for lumber and building. If you're a contractor, Beltane's Building Supply was to be your first choice for lumber and building products. Our contractor sales team can expedite orders for timely delivery right to your job site with our huge 50-vehicle delivery fleet.
Visit us at beltanes.com or any of our 9 locations.
Well, Laconia's police chief says they are not increasing security measures at schools because of what happened in Texas, but he does say his department is constantly monitoring and assessing if and when any changes might need to be made. The chief says schools in this city are as safe as they can be, thanks in part to federal grants that schools across the state received in 2018 to improve security. In Laconia, that money was used to upgrade door locks, install more security cameras, as well as tint window glass. The city also has a safety board that meets once a month to discuss any potential issues. Officials here want to reassure parents the safety of children is their highest priority.
Certainly, I think our schools here in Laconia are very safe, and I think we've done all that we can to secure them. That being said, we do look at them and we do evaluate it constantly. It's a daily thing.
20 years ago, anybody could just walk into a school, and that's not the way it is anymore. We have entries that you have to have a card to go in, or you have to be buzzed in all 7 of our buildings.
The superintendent says his district also goes through ALICE training, which teaches how to address any type of armed shooter that might enter a building. Reporting live in Laconia tonight, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. Doctors talk about how to discuss school shooting with children. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
If you're a contractor, Beltate's Building Supply wants to be your first choice for lumber and building products. Our contractor sales team can expedite orders for timely delivery right to your job site with our huge 50-vehicle delivery fleet.
Visit us at beltates.com or any of our 9 locations.
Now, the images and stories from Tuesday's mass shooting at a Texas elementary school are difficult to watch and hear, especially for kids. But how do parents talk to children about it? We asked a child psychiatrist to join us to answer your questions. Dr. Steve Schlossman with Dartmouth Health joins us live right now. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Let's get right to the questions. What would you tell someone who feels overwhelmed by the news coming out of Texas?
I would say that's a reasonable way to feel. A lot of this has to do with how old the child is that you're talking to, but no matter what age, what you're aiming for is to help them to feel safe in the circumstance that they're in. So it makes sense to feel overwhelmed and then remind them that many, many steps have been taken. There are many folks involved in keeping them safe, both in the school, in town, and at home.
Now, you just kind of touched on this, but let's expand a little bit because a shooting at an elementary school could be particularly troubling for younger kids. So what is the right way for parents to approach this with their children?
So for younger kids, since that's where this shooting tragically took place, you want to think that younger kids are all about rules. That's how they approach the world. That's how they play kickball. That's how they understand what they should do and when they should do it in the classroom. So it's really helpful to go over with them what rules the school has in place, the town has in place, the families have in place that maintain their safety, that help them to know that it's safe for them to walk or ride the bus or be dropped off at school and then to come home at the end of the day. Even if you've gone over those rules before, something like this makes those rules kind of easy to forget, and it's useful for parents to reiterate it, especially if your child looks troubled.
So let's get one more question in. What about those older kids who may be seeing shooting references on their social media feeds?
Older kids are a really interesting group here to think about. They are smart enough to have very complicated opinions about this and conversations about it. I would limit their social media feeds to the extent that you can. We all know that it's very hard to get kids to sign off of their social media, especially when in times like this. Having said that, if you as a parent can engage your teen in a discussion about these issues, in the nuances of these discussions, you'll give that teenager a sense of agency, give them the power to make the changes that they think need to be made to make the world safer.
Dr. Schlossman, thank you so much for those answers. We have some more questions for you coming up after the break.
Welcome back. The questions are still coming in about how to talk to your children about the school shooting.
Okay, if you want to watch more of that, we will share the link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. You can check it there. New Hampshire students reflect on Texas school shooting. It's sad, but I can't say I'm surprised. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months.
Where destiny's second to none. MV.
Well, Tom, sadness and anger are just some of the words these students use to describe about how they're feeling about what took place down in Texas yesterday. These are high school seniors, and, they're really part of this generation that has grown up with one school shooting after another in this country. They practice active shooter drills in schools. And while they say this has become kind of part of their everyday lives, it still hurts when they hear of these incidents.
Sometimes you still get scared, but it's like you still come to school every day, and you're still kind of taking that risk and having trust in the school.
It's sad, but it's like I can't say I'm surprised it happened because stuff like this happens not all the time, but more than it should happen, which is upsetting.
For me, it's especially been something since a young age that I've just kind of been aware of, and you kind of just learn that it's something you see fairly regularly. Yeah, it's a horrible thing, and I wish there was more that was done about it.
Now, those students we spoke with are from Franklin, and tonight the police chief tells me his department will have an enhanced presence in city schools to help ease any anxieties for both parents and students. Reporting live tonight, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Prosecution, defense rest case at Armando Barron trial. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months.
Where best needs second to none. MD.
One of Armando Barron's defense attorneys tested positive for COVID. So today, all the witnesses who testified were asked to wear clear masks on the stand, and jurors were instructed not to hold the fact that one of the attorneys was not in the courtroom against Armando Barron when they go to deliberate. Barron is accused of luring a 25-year-old engineer to a park and killing him after discovering flirtatious Snapchat messages between his wife and Jonathan Amaral.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
The final 3 witnesses, all from New Hampshire State Police, in this weeks-long trial, testified today. A state police technology analyst was on the stand the longest, telling the jury how cell phone companies retain data and how phones ping towers. Texts from Brittany Barron to her daughters were read aloud to the jury.
Tell my girls I love them with all my heart, and that I'm okay and we'll see them very soon. With all my heart, my whole heart is you guys. I love you so much. Please be good listeners. For Abuelita and Papa, take care of each other. You're a team. Remember that?
Coming up at 6 o'clock, the jury finally gets to hear Armando Barron's voice in a recording made by state police on the night he was arrested. In Keene, Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. After latest school shooting, political divide remains over gun control. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
If you're a contractor, Beltane's Building Supply wants to be your first choice for lumber and building products. Our contractor sales team can expedite orders for timely delivery right to your job site with our huge 50-vehicle delivery fleet.
Visit us at beltanes.com or any of our 9 locations.
In politics, the cycle has become like clockwork. Outrage follows a mass shooting. There are calls for action to address either gun violence or mental health, but little changes before the next tragedy.
We're not powerless to do something about it, and I hope that's the takeaway from this. This doesn't have to be just the way it is in America.
For some time now, Democrats have advocated for expanded background checks, red flag laws meant to take firearms away from at-risk individuals, and other gun restrictions in hopes of reducing lethal violence.
When is enough? When are we going to start prioritizing people, children, over guns?
Current New Hampshire laws generally emphasize and protect Second Amendment freedoms. After mass shootings, Republicans say they hear the calls to do something.
But remember that we're backstopped by this thing called the Constitution. And passing more gun laws doesn't seem to work if you look at all the major cities in the country where they have the most restrictive gun laws in the country, and they have the highest mortality rates from gun violence in the country.
When Democrats last controlled the state legislature, they passed red flag legislation, which they portrayed as largely a suicide prevention measure. That bill was vetoed by Governor Chris Sununu, who said, quote, "I will continue to prioritize suicide prevention and mental health as there is much work yet to be done in New Hampshire." but that work cannot come at the expense of the constitutional rights of our citizens.
Both sides agree some progress has been made in improving the mental health system here in New Hampshire and also strengthening school security. But that fundamental difference in that debate over gun rights is not going anywhere anytime soon. Reporting live in Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. First responders describes devastation at Robb Elementary School. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
America is once again in mourning. Officials say a gunman entered a Uvalde, Texas elementary school yesterday, killing at least 19 children and 2 adults. It is the deadliest school shooting since Sandy Hook. We're going to bring in now Ernest Chip King. He's a Uvalde fireman and a councilman. He was on the scene as a first responder yesterday. And Chip, I cannot imagine what it's like. You've lived here all your life. This is your community. These are your people. And you come on an absolute horror scene. Can you tell me what you saw and what you heard?
When I got here, I arrived with the fire department, and it was pretty much chaos. There was families trying to get in here. They were getting in here. They were getting into the school. There's fathers breaking out windows, pulling kids out the windows. We were trying to control that because the scene was still very active when we got here. So it was a scary and chaotic scene.
That just brings chills to imagine the desperation as a parent to see, I need to see my child, I need to find my child. Were you surprised? I mean, this was a school that had a police presence,
yes,
that a gunman was able to get in and do what he did so quickly.
It is surprising because we have another situation going on here with the surge of the immigrants, and the schools are locked down all the time anyway, and they're constantly going into real big lockdowns when we have a chase or something. And him getting in the school is interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, how he did get in.
And changes need to be made?
If there's absolutely, if need be, changes need to be made.
I know that you didn't necessarily know the victims, but you do know some of the victims' families,
I know
correct?
families, I know the teacher. It's a very tragic story.
How are you processing this, and what is your message to them? I know that it's an impossible thing to even give relief at this moment, but what would you say to them?
We're all here for you. We're praying. Wish everybody in the country would pray with us, and we'll all get over this.
Well, Chip, I appreciate your time, and I know it's something you're going to live with for the rest of your life as well, but please know that we are sending you and your community so much love and so much support.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Again, Uvalde, Texas Fireman and Councilman Ernest Chip King.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. That does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching this evening edition. Good night, goodbye.